My 17-year-old daughter worked day and night to earn a full-ride scholarship. My sister and parents took it from her on purpose. It's better for the family, they said. I didn't shout. I did this. 3 days later, the police were at their door. You'd think I'd recognize a disaster when it walked through my door in a plain white envelope. But nope. I thought it was a dorm assignment or a parking permit or some thrilling update about student ID activation. The kind of thing you leave for your kid to open because it's theirs. And you're a cool, chill, totally not over, invested parent. I didn't even open it. I tossed it on the counter, smiled at Ruby, my daughter, scholarship winner, miracle in thrift store jeans, and said, mail came for you. She took one look and went quiet. Thin envelope. Thin, cheap, nothing fancy envelope. The kind that says, here's a boring form, or oops, you're uninsured. Ruby didn't say anything. She picked it up, walked down the hall, and disappeared into her room. I went back to stirring whatever dinner was. Pasta maybe. I don't remember. Because then she said it. Mom. Her voice cracked like a stick snapping in half. I turned the burner off and walked down the hall. The door was open. She was sitting on the bed, hunched over, holding the letter like it might catch fire if she moved too fast. He handed it to me. Didn't speak. Just handed it to me. I read it twice before it even registered. We acknowledge your decision to decline the scholarship. Your award has been reassigned to the next eligible candidate. I laughed. Not a happy laugh. One of those single, breath what? The hell kind of laughs that comes from your ribcage when your brain short circuits. I looked at her. You didn't decline anything. Right. Ruby shook her head. Her hands were clenched so tight. I thought she might bruise her own palms. Her eyes were already wet. No, she whispered. Why would I do that? She didn't need to convince me. Ruby had cried when the acceptance came in. She baked brownies for the admissions team, even though they were 200 miles away. She'd framed her acceptance email, declined the scholarship. That would be like burning a winning lottery ticket. I grabbed my phone and called the number listed on the letter. Financial aid office. I wasn't even polite. The whole music was some kind of acoustic violin hell loop. Ruby sat next to me, shaking, not crying anymore, just stunned. A woman finally answered, this is Megan. How can I help? I went straight in. We just got a letter saying my daughter declined her scholarship. That's a mistake. She didn't. Pause. May I have her student ID? I gave it. She typed. I imagined the slow clack of betrayal. We received a formal withdrawal email from her registered address last week. Megan said, it's already been processed. The scholarship was reassigned. My throat dried up. I'm sorry, I said. What? It came from the address we have on file. The request was time-stamped last Monday. 7:47 p.m. Ruby looked at me. Her head tilted like she'd just been slapped. I'm going to need you to read that address back to me. I said. Megan did. Ruby's face went white. That's my email, she said. But I didn't send anything. I'm going to need a copy of that email. I said to Megan, can you send it to me? We can forward the message to the same address it came from. Yes, she replied. Of course. Perfect. They were forwarding a fraudulent email to the exact account it had been sent from, where the real owner never saw it. And then she added the kicker. Sometimes students change their minds. If she had second thoughts, we can't just undo it now, especially after it's been reassigned. She didn't withdraw. Megan didn't flinch. Or if she did, I didn't hear it. She just went on perky and professional. If you believe there was an error, you're welcome to file a formal complaint. But once reassigned, it's rarely reversible. Who got it? I asked. Who was the next candidate? I'm sorry, we can't disclose that. Of course they couldn't. We hung up. Ruby didn't cry. Not right away. She just stared at the wall like it might blink first. Then she said quietly, I almost believed it. Thought it was real, but of course not. It was too good to be true. It broke something in me. Not because she was wrong, but because she'd said it like she'd known all along. Like part of her had been waiting for the world to snatch it back. I put my arm around her. We'll find a way, I said. But even as I said it, my voice shook because I didn't know how. We'd scraped by on part, time contracts and faith for years. This scholarship wasn't a bonus. It was the only plan, and somewhere someone had stolen it, using my daughter's identity. The forwarded mail hadn't arrived yet, but when it did, we'd know more. I didn't want to believe what my gut was already whispering, but the timestamp, the email, the fact that it had come from her own account. Something was wrong, terribly, deliberately wrong, and someone was behind it. I don't know what I expected to feel, standing there in the living room waiting for a fraudulent email to arrive, probably not murderous. It wasn't just that someone had stolen my daughter's scholarship. It was how they did it. The sheer coldness of pretending to be her, typing out a withdrawal message like it was nothing, then hitting send and watching her future collapse like a house of cards. And they did it from her own account, her own email, her identity. Screenshot was still on its way. Ruby was checking her inbox every 3 minutes. I was pacing like a caged animal, chewing a cuticle I didn't even realize was bleeding. Neither of us said much. What could we say? We were still hoping it was a mix-up, a weird glitch, something dumb and technical and fixable. But somewhere in the back of my mind, the pieces were already lining up. And they weren't forming a glitch. They were forming her. Vivian, I didn't want to go there yet. So instead I did what moms do when they're losing control. I rewound the tape and tried to explain it to myself. I grew up 2 years ahead of my sister, which is just close enough to be compared at every possible stage of your life. Vivian was the golden one. Not obviously. Our parents weren't cartoon villains or anything, but there was always a second set of rules that followed her around. If I forgot to take out the trash, I was lazy. If she forgot, someone must have distracted her. If she cried, was sensitive and needed comforting. If I cried, I was dramatic. And if we fought, we fought. Don't use your little sister as an excuse. She's younger. You should know better. I learned early that protesting made things worse. So I stopped. Let her have the last cookie, the benefit of the doubt, the spotlight. Fine. Whatever. I built my life outside the favoritism radius. We both grew up, had daughters at almost the same time. And for a while I let myself believe things were different. Ruby and Chloe were close. Like, genuinely close. Same school, same after-school programs, same goofy photos in matching pajamas. We raced them side by side, lived in the same town, shared babysitting, recipes, holiday tables. Our parents doted on them both. Or almost both. It was subtle like everything else. Ruby got praised for her kindness. Chloe got praised for her spark. Ruby was responsible. Chloe was a natural leader. Ruby did the dishes after family dinner. Chloe made everyone laugh and forgot the dishes. And somehow that was just as valuable. And when Chloe messed up, when she got caught cheating on a vocab quiz or snapped at a teacher, it was stress, pressure, teenage hormones. When Ruby cried after a bad day, sensitive, needs to toughen up, so I brushed it off. They were kids, and the girls loved each other. Chloe came over for sleepovers. Ruby helped her with homework. They swapped books and inside jokes and shared Spotify playlists like a pair of nerdy twins. Ruby even helped Chloe with her scholarship essays. Because yeah, both girls applied for the same full-ride program. It was a long shot. National. Competitive. We all knew there were tens of thousands of applicants and maybe 50 spots. But they went for it together, side by side, cheering each other on. When the acceptance came through for Ruby, I screamed. Then I cried. Then I panicked a little because I realized she might actually be leaving and I wasn't ready. But Ruby didn't do any of that. She just sat there quietly and said, "But what about Chloe?" I told her the truth. Chloe will be okay. This is your moment. A few days later, Chloe got her reply, waitlisted. You're first in line if someone drops out, which let's be honest is academic speak for don't get your hopes up unless someone dies. Ruby almost didn't want to celebrate. It just feels mean like I'm gloating. I told her you earned this and Chloe's proud of you. And it seemed like she was. He came to the graduation party, just a quiet one at our house, nothing fancy. She hugged Ruby, told her, "I'm happy for you. At least one of us made it." I thought that was the end of it, that we'd all move on. I didn't realize that would be the night everything started unraveling. The ping of an incoming email yanked me back into the present. Ruby opened it. Forwarded message. Scholarship withdrawal. Sent from her account. Time stamped. Monday, 7:48 p.m. We both stared at the number. She blinked. That was the night of the party. We looked at the calendar. We looked at the clock on the screen. We didn't speak. Ruby's eyes darted. Her hands were shaking again. It was her. She whispered. It was Chloe. My heart dropped into my stomach. What do you mean? Ruby looked at me like she was watching herself realize it for the first time. She asked to borrow my phone. She said hers was dead, and she needed to call her boyfriend. Pause. I unlocked it for her. Longer pause. She was gone for 10 minutes. I didn't breathe. Neither did she. We just sat there in the quiet of that realization, watching the floor like it might offer a solution. I remembered watching them laugh together that night. I remembered Ruby doing Chloe's makeup, helping her pick out a dress, offering to take photos on the good phone so Chloe would have better lighting. Ruby let her borrow her clothes. Let her borrow her confidence. Let her borrow her trust. And her phone. She didn't stab her in the back. She borrowed the knife. There's a kind of silence that comes after betrayal. Not the calm kind. The loaded kind. The kind where even your thoughts are whispering because they don't want to make it worse. That was our house the night Ruby remembered. She sat curled up on the couch, staring straight ahead like she was watching her whole life rerun through static. I sat across from her holding the email, the one she supposedly sent. Sent from her phone, sent while her cousin was borrowing it to call her boyfriend. The timestamp lined up, the tone lined up, the gut punch lined up. Only one thing didn't. The fact that Ruby never wrote it. She finally broke the silence. We'll never be able to prove it. Her voice cracked like it had given up, too. She sent it from my phone. There's no chance. I looked at her, and maybe it was the deadness in her voice or the way her shoulders had collapsed into themselves. But something in me snapped. Then we find a way. I didn't tell Ruby I was going to see my sister Vivian. She didn't need to know. Not yet. I just said I had errands to run and grabbed the car keys like it was a normal Tuesday. Like I wasn't driving across town to look my sister in the eye and ask her if she'd help destroy my daughter's future. The entire drive I rehearsed what I'd say. Factual. No accusations. I'd ask questions. I'd give her the benefit of the doubt. And then she opened the door with a smile like nothing had happened. And every ounce of restraint I had fell into the driveway. "Hey," she said, "what's up?" I held up my phone. "This." She stepped aside to let me in. I didn't sit, just stood there in her kitchen like a debt collector. This was sent from Ruby's email at 7:48 p.m. on the night of her graduation party. That's the same time Chloe borrowed her phone. Vivian glanced at the screen, smiled. "You're sure it wasn't just Ruby?" I stared at her. That's when I realized she wasn't confused. She was stalling. She helped your daughter with her essays. Let her borrow her clothes. Let her borrow her phone. And now her scholarship's gone. Vivian shrugged. Shelley shrugged. When your daughter was helping mine, she wasn't really helping with she. She knew they were competing before Chloe did. I blinked. "Excuse me?" She kept saying how guilty she felt Chloe didn't get it. Why would she feel guilty if she hadn't done something wrong? I felt like I was watching her through a pane of glass. Like I was in a dream where nothing made sense. The floor might have fallen. At any second, "What are you saying?" She leaned against the counter. "Nothing. Just saying, the winner is whoever says the last word." And that was it. That was the moment I knew. She'd known all along. I drove home shaking. Not from rage. Not from grief. From clarity. She hadn't just let it happen. She'd helped. And if Chloe was smart enough to send that email without getting caught, then Vivian was smart enough to cover for her. But even Vivian hadn't counted on one thing. I'm a mom, and we remember everything. It hit me while washing my hands. Our backyard security camera motion activated full audio. Chloe had stepped outside during the party, said she needed a quiet place to call her boyfriend. She hadn't taken Ruby's phone far, just out to the patio long enough to do what she needed. I pulled up the app and there she was. Chloe walking out the back door with a phone in her hand. 7:46 p.m. You couldn't see for certain that it was Ruby's phone, not on video. But you could tell one thing. It wasn't Chloe's. Different model. Wrong case. Definitely not the one she usually carried. She stared at the screen for a minute. Tapped. Tapped again. Then made a call. 7:50 p.m. Key paste. Laughed. Said, "Yeah, I'll let you know." And walked back inside. Ruby's phone log confirmed it. One outgoing call to Chloe's boyfriend placed seconds after the email was sent. She'd sent it. Then called him. Wanted to cover the other. It wasn't a smoking gun, but it was enough to load one. I showed Ruby everything. The footage, the timestamp, the call log. She sat frozen, hands in her lap. It won't matter, she said. They'll just say I let her send it, or that I changed my mind, and now I'm blaming her. She was right. They would say that. So I said nothing. I turned to the table, opened my laptop. What are you doing? I'm filing a complaint with the university. She stared at me. And after that, she asked, I'm filing a police report. Impersonation, fraud, educational sabotage. Call it whatever you want. It was theft. They didn't steal a wallet. They stole her future. I uploaded the footage, attached screenshots, submitted the timeline. Then I picked up the phone and called the non-emergency number for our local police department. I'd like to report impersonation and digital fraud. I said, who's the victim? My daughter. She's 17, and she didn't just lose a scholarship. She was targeted. I didn't cry that night. Ruby went to bed early. I tucked her in like she was 5 again, kissed her forehead, told her it wasn't over. Then I sat in the kitchen with a cup of coffee I didn't drink and watched the status bar on the university portal spin in place. We've done everything we could. I whispered. Now it's up to them. But the truth? I wasn't waiting. I was getting ready. You'd think by this point I'd be used to betrayal, that there'd be some emotional scar tissue. That after watching my daughter's scholarship get stolen in slow motion by people we trusted, nothing could really surprise me anymore. But that's the funny thing about damage. It never breaks the same place twice. And the worst crack was still coming. I didn't know it yet. I thought the damage had already been done. 3 days after I filed the reports, my phone rang. No greeting. No preamble. Just Vivian. You sent the police to my house. Her voice was sharp and steady. Not shaken. Not wounded. Just controlled rage. The kind people save for property damage or parking tickets. Not fraud. You think that's how you handle something like this? By involving strangers. I opened my mouth, closed it again. There was no point reminding her that I had come to her first. She wasn't interested in facts. She wanted outrage. Chloe's been crying. You scared Mom. She thought someone had died. And you didn't even have the decency to warn us? You just made us a public spectacle. I leaned back against the kitchen counter and looked at the tile. One of the corners was cracked, just like this conversation. I have to go, I said. I hung up before she could answer. And then I stood there for another full minute holding my phone like it might vibrate back into meaning. Mom and Dad were there, I whispered. Ruby was in the next room, refreshing her inbox. The university still hadn't replied. She looked up. What? Nothing, I lied. Get your shoes. We're going to see Grandma and Grandpa. She blinked. Yeah, we brought pancakes. Because we were the type of people who brought pancakes to a confrontation. Because Ruby believed they would listen if we were calm. Because I believed, at least half, deludedly, that our only challenge would be convincing them. That if we just walked them through it gently, they'd understand. They'd take our side. They'd be shocked. They'd hold Ruby and say, we didn't know. We're so sorry. God, we were stupid. They greeted us like it was any other morning. Coffee. Hugs. My mom commented on Ruby's new shoes. My dad asked if we wanted orange juice. We sat at the kitchen table. I pulled out the folder. Before we say anything else, we need you to look at this. They did, quietly, with too much composure. First the email, then the timestamp, then the security footage of Chloe outside with Ruby's phone, the call log, every page of it. Order. Ruby sat beside me, hands folded, knuckles white. She looked like she was trying not to breathe too loudly. When my mother finally spoke, she didn't look at me. She looked at Ruby. She's just a child. That's when I knew something was wrong. She's 17, I said, and she committed fraud. My father set down the papers. She made a mistake, maybe a poor decision, but she's a good kid. I blinked. You think she did it? They looked at each other, then back at me. We thought you might come, my mother said. We've talked about it. All of us. The words hit like glass breaking. All of us. Vivian, after you told her what you found, I couldn't move. My jaw clenched so hard it clicked. You knew. We didn't do anything, my father said quickly. We just agreed. Agreed to what? My mother didn't flinch. That Chloe needed it more. Ruby stood up. Her hands were shaking now. You helped her take it from me? No one took anything. My mother snapped, voice rising for the first time. It stayed in the family. That's when I stood, too. It didn't stay in the family. It was stolen. She was devastated, my father said. We knew you'd take it badly, so we didn't say anything. She's not as strong as Ruby, my mother added. We thought Ruby would understand. Ruby made a small sound, like laughter without joy. So you just let her lie? We didn't want this to get ugly, my father said. You involved the police. What did you think would happen? I said, that I'd find out who betrayed us. You already knew, my mother said. I looked at her, really looked, and something inside me shut off like a switch. We left without finishing the pancakes. That night, I blocked their numbers. All of them. No speeches. No text goodbyes. I just hit the button and watched the screen go clean. Ruby didn't speak for hours. Then she opened the family group chat. Scrolled until she found the last message from my dad. Some meme about family loyalty. She uploaded 4 files. Screenshot of the withdrawal email. Screenshot of the call log. A still frame from the security video. And a short message. Chloe sent the email from my phone. Vivian helped. Our grandparents knew. This is what happened. You can believe it or not, but this is what happened. She didn't wait for a response. We both knew we wouldn't get one. The university still hadn't responded. Ruby was called in twice more for follow-up clarification. The start of term was 5 days away. We had nothing, no scholarship, no funding, no backup plan. It's not even about the money anymore. Ruby said one night. It's that they looked at me and decided I didn't deserve it. I didn't know how to respond. Because she wasn't wrong. 2 days before orientation, I got a message, private, quiet, from a cousin I hadn't seen since a funeral. I saw what Ruby posted. I forwarded it to someone. I hope that's okay. It was more than okay. It was the only thing we had. The next afternoon, we got the call. I'm calling from the Hope Bridge Foundation. We reviewed Ruby's story. We'd like to fully sponsor her tuition. Starting immediately, I didn't cry. Not until I hung up. Not until I saw Ruby curled on the couch, arms around her knees. You're in. I whispered. She looked at me like I'd said it in another language. We did it. No, I said you did. The next morning she zipped her bag and stood by the door. I really thought they broke me. She said. I looked at her. Tired, steady, brave. Then look at you now. The investigation didn't drag on. Within weeks Chloe was formally charged. Computer misuse. Identity fraud. Academic dishonesty. The university expelled her and revoked the scholarship entirely, officially waiting for the outcome before making it final. She was blacklisted from all future scholarships. Her name landed on a list no parent wants to see. And then came the part no one expected. During questioning, Chloe cracked. She told them it had been her mother's idea. Vivian, the mastermind, the woman who once said she'd do anything for her daughter. Apparently she meant it. Vivian was convicted too. Community service. A hefty fine and 1 year of probation. She wept in court, talked about reputations she chose over truth. Chloe, they assigned her to clean the downtown bus terminal every Saturday. Ruby and I saw her once. She didn't look up. We walked right past. Ruby's original scholarship was never reinstated, but she ended up receiving something better. Now she's there on campus, not hiding, not small. She tutors 2 nights a week, joined the debate team, and already got invited to a summer research program. Sometimes I look at her across the kitchen table and see the flicker of something returning like a match just beginning to burn. Confidence, joy, power. She still doesn't talk about her grandparents or her aunt. And I don't push. We're no contact. Fully. I didn't send a final message. It has blocked them all. Sometimes silence is louder. They thought they could rewrite her future. Turns out they just wrote their own ending. You tell me, did I go too far? Or not far enough?